promised land.
God bless him. You know, I don't know anything about science. I'm just a complete idiot when it comes to math and science, but man, just go for it. And by the way, as far as universities, you know, I am the harshest critics of universities generally, but mostly what I'm talking about is actually the humanities and social sciences when I do that. What goes on in the biology building, the chemistry building, the physics building, I don't know, but I know that what comes out of them is a better life for me, right? And all of us.
Right.
They're making the stuff that you're talking about. And so go for it. And so, you know, renegade universities, we're not going to do no science. We're going to let Harvard and MIT keep going. Have at it, guys, you know, because you're doing great stuff. I have no critique of that. As far as I know, there's nothing going on there that's wrong, but it's just the humanities and social sciences that are utterly corrupt.
Well, we got way off the track here. What we were talking about initially was Jordan Peterson, what you disagree with him when it comes to gender, and what you agree with him when it comes to the suppression of expression of professors and all the people worried about being called racist and sexist and anything else stifling free speech.
So what he's facing is even worse than what goes on in the United States, in a sense, in that it's now legal persecution. He is actually, you know, it's against the law to not use these gender pronouns in your class, that's suppression of speech, that's suppression of academic freedom. It's a complete violation of those things, in fact, and that's totalitarian. I mean, there's no two ways around it. My uncle, Canada has these laws, right? And they have a Human Rights Commission, I think it's called, or Human Something Commission.
Yeah, Human Rights Council.
And it's like this body of people who sit there and decide who should have a website or not. And my uncle, this actually happened to him about 10 years ago. He was accused of being a Holocaust denier and I don't even know exactly what he was saying on there, but he's a Ukrainian, and I think he was sort of just defending these Ukrainians who were accused of being Nazis during the World War II. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Even if he were a Holocaust denier, he should have his website, right? The Canadian, you go to that URL, it's shut down. And in fact, they put a banner now. It says, this is now like controlled by the Canadian government or something.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, no, they have no free speech in Canada. I mean, there's no sort of doctrine, legal or otherwise, in Canada of free speech. It's bad. And that's what Jordan Peterson's facing. It's because he's Canadian. This would not happen in the United States until, of course, you know, the sociologists take control, and then they will have these laws, but we don't have them here. So he actually could go to prison. That's what's happening. He could go to prison for not saying "zer" in his class.
There was an article that Vice published that someone linked to me today about this that I did not read yet, because I announced that Jordan is going to be returning to the podcast, and someone was saying that his interpretation of these laws is greatly exaggerated. See if you could find that. It's a very recent Vice article.
I'm pretty sure it's illegal, and illegal means you can go to prison ultimately.
I don't think Jordan's wrong, and I don't think he would exaggerate.
No. I looked into this. It's illegal because that matters a lot to me.
Of course.
Yeah. So I am 100% in solidarity with him on that. And he's completely right that the state, no one should be telling him what to say in his classroom, and certainly he shouldn't be going to prison for it or being threatened in any way legally. Even if it's just a fine, right? People don't understand this. It's incredible how people don't understand that everything the state does is enforced by the threat of ultimate violence, right? So my mother even said this recently. She said, oh, there's no violence with parking tickets. They just send you a fine. I said, oh, really? So if you get the fine and you don't pay it, what happens? Oh, we get another notice, and then another notice, right, Mom? And then another notice, and then finally, what happens? Corinne Gaines, this black woman in Maryland a couple years ago, this is exactly what happened. She got a bunch of traffic tickets, and she refused to pay them. And ultimately, what happened? The SWAT team came to her house, and she pulled a gun, and they shot her in the head. That was over traffic fines. Okay, that's what happens. That's what it means to make something illegal. At the end of the day, for it to be meaningful as a law, the state has to use lethal violence to enforce it.
Or the potential for lethal violence.
In other words, if you don't pay your taxes, even if it's, $100 in taxes, ultimately, otherwise the law is meaningless, right?
Right.
They have to put you in prison or kill you.
Well,